it's Renee here from the blog Mummy Tries, and today I'm going to do something a bit different. I wanted to do a little vlog about my 1 year on the GAPS diet, because unbelievably it's been a whole year now since I've been following this amazing diet, and there's so much I want to say. I just thought I'm going to do a vlog rather than a blog post, because the blog post is going to go on forever, and obviously who has the time to read that? So excuse me while I feed the boy. He was really, really poorly last night and up being sick and all sorts. So he's, yeah, firmly attached to the boob today. And if I don't do this today, then I have no idea when I'm going to get this out. So anyway, what can I tell you about life on the GAPS diet? Being on the GAPS diet this last year, I've never, ever, ever had as much energy as I have had, and considering that I get sometimes 3-4 hours broken sleep the entire night, that's really saying something. Um, I have suffered on and off with acne since I was a teenager. One of the reasons that my gut health got so bad, to be completely honest, I think, is because I was put on the contraceptive pill when I was 13, because I had awful, awful, awful periods. So that masked the acne because it was a really strong pill. So sometimes they actually put you on that purely for acne. Anytime I had a break from the pill, the acne would flare up. As soon as I came off the pill back in 2006, my skin went haywire. And literally within weeks of being on the GAPS diet, it cleared up, and just like that. And it's the first thing people say to me is, wow, your skin is amazing, Ren. How is that possible, with obviously getting the crappy sleep that I do. So that was my first big thing that's very visible, very noticeable for other people. The other thing that people say to me is, how on earth do you function? Seriously, how can you function on that little sleep and with kids that are, fairly, all three of them, but my eldest is a big challenge, and obviously, a baby, so he was only 8 weeks old when I started the diet. He's now kind of morphing into a toddler because he's 14 months, but throughout that time, he's still a baby, stroke toddler. He's obviously bringing demands, and he's still breastfeeding and everything else. And that's, for me, is the biggest plus point of GAPS, is the energy that I've got is literally is boundless. I do, get to about 8:30, 9, conk out on the sofa or go to bed because I'm not fit for anything. But considering, as I said, I'm living on 3-4 hours broken sleep most nights and up for the day somewhere between 5 and 6 every day, I don't think that's bad going. So for me, huge plus points has been the skin, the energy, and just feeling for the first time in my life so incredibly clear-headed. I don't really know how else to explain that. I mean, people that suffer from food intolerance, and sort of general autoimmune disease, things like thyroid dysfunction and Hashimoto's disease and whatnot, people often say that they feel fuzzy in their head. They can't get their thoughts straight. They can't articulate what they want to say. People speak, and it takes too long for their brain to catch up with them, and they're kind of left looking a bit like an idiot sometimes. It's not because they don't know what to say. It's just because they can't say it quick enough, almost like, And the way that I describe it is, when I've been eating, loads of sugar and just processed carbs in general, in the past, the way I describe it is wading through treacle. And I think for me, that's been it's very much been a part of my life between like the start of my sugar-free journey, which was the end of 2006, beginning of 2007, when I was diagnosed with polycystic ovaries, and I started coming away from refined sugar and processed carbs. But obviously, it was a slow journey, and I'd still go out and have a dessert, or just still have little binges on carbs and whatnot. And then in 2012 we went paleo, which eliminates all refined sugar and all grains. That was a big step forward, but we'd still say, oh, we're in this lovely restaurant, let's just have a dessert, and it would make me feel, obviously delicious at the time, but then afterwards I'd get that wading through treacle feeling. Um, and obviously, if you're eating loads of sugar on a daily basis and you have autoimmune dysfunction, it's the worst thing you could possibly do for yourself. And you're going to get that on a daily basis, that wading through treacle feeling. And in the last year, I don't have that anymore, and it's just amazing. It's the most incredible thing, just to feel clear-headed. I know what I want to do. I know what I need to achieve. Sometimes I'm really up against it if I've got, kids all around me creating merry hell who haven't slept all night. But I still manage to achieve an awful lot. Um, the thing about the GAPS diet that puts people off quite a bit is the preparation. So the GAPS diet does consist entirely of natural food. You don't have anything processed. I do have a few cheats that I buy mainly for the kids, such as yo-yos, for example, which are the little kind of natural fruit roll-ups. They've got about 4 or 5 ingredients in them, no sulfites, no nasties whatsoever. So we do have the odd cheat, because at the end of the day, you're up against it to make absolutely 100% of your food from scratch all the time. So you do need to find your little cheats, and they do make life so much easier when you're going out and about and you can just take them with you. But there is, I think in the beginning there is a lot of preparation. So when you're on the introduction diet and you're drinking tons and tons and tons of homemade stock, I was going through a chicken every other day, boiling up a chicken, drinking the stock every other day, drinking that much stock. I think I was between 1.5 litres and 2 litres every single day on the start of the intro diet, and eating a chicken every other day, basically, a whole chicken. But that obviously dwindles down. By the time you get to a year, I make one batch of stock a week now and add that stock to various meals. So we eat a lot of one pot dishes, a lot of casseroles, a lot of stews, curries. And if the kids are a bit funny about it, I stick it in the blender and whiz it up and call it soup, and then they eat it, and it's fine. And it's obviously a way of getting really, really nutrient dense food into everybody. Can't recommend that highly enough, and it makes life easy. Literally just chucking a few ingredients in a big casserole dish, pouring over a load of stock, sticking it in the oven, and leaving it there. I don't see how much easier cooking can possibly get. Chop things up, put them in the oven, leave it there for 4 or 5 hours. And obviously stewing meat is much, much, much cheaper than your chops and, your best cuts. So, I buy the best quality possible. So I buy from a butcher's based in the City of London. They supply places like Hawksmoor. They supply all of the big top steakhouses in London. But I buy the cheaper cuts. So I'm a huge fan of ox cheeks, pig cheeks, um, scrag end of lamb, which is all the casserole, pork belly. Oh, pork belly, who doesn't love that? But it's all the cheaper the cheaper cuts of meat, which aren't going to cost you a fortune. I also buy lots of things in bulk, which cuts the price down as well. And just stocking up on things when they're on special offer, on internet shops or in the supermarket, whatnot. But just trying to think what my biggest piece of advice could be after a year on the GAPS diet. I think is accepting that if your gut is in a state, which mine, quite frankly, I, without a doubt, had leaky gut syndrome. That would have been passed down by my mother. So my mother has thyroid disease. She has an underactive thyroid. She gets really bad urticaria, which is food related. Well, they say urticaria isn't food related, but to be completely honest, I don't buy that at all, because when you eat something and then come out in hives 5 minutes later, I don't believe that has no correlation. But the official party line is it doesn't have a link. Anyway, so she has urticaria, and she has all sorts of other various bits and pieces going on, which is, I believe, largely linked to leaky gut syndrome. She then obviously had me, passed those dysfunctions on to me, and I would have then unfortunately passed it on to the kids. So my gut health didn't start off fantastically well. I then had severe reflux as a child and had stomach surgery, major stomach surgery, at 5 years old. So that would have messed me up even further. I then had, let me think, 12 years of the contraception pill. You know, because I was on it from the age of 13, well, actually nearly 13 years with the contraceptive pill. Came off it at 26. That would have really messed me up. Numerous amounts of antibiotics as a child, numerous amounts of antibiotics, always forever having tonsillitis and whatnot, so I was always on antibiotics. And then I left home at 15 and had to pave my own way in the world after a severely dysfunctional childhood. So, you know, I went out partying and I enjoyed it and I loved it at the time. And I had 10 years of drinking myself into oblivion, and partying, and, you know, goodness knows what that's done to my long term health. So for me, you know, accepting that it took a long time, it took 35 years for my body to get into, you know, the state that it was in, and for my gut health to become so bad, it's not going to cure itself overnight. So I've now been on the GAPS diet for a whole year. In addition to the food, I also take supplements. So I eat a diet that is very rich in natural probiotics, and I also take the fabulous Bio-Kult probiotics as well, the 14 strain multi-formula, which are brilliant, which the whole family have as well. I then take red krill for an omega boost, which obviously is going to help the whole foggy brain disappear and whatnot. We now take natural rosehip derived vitamin C every day to try and just prevent those nasty colds and coughs and everything that, you know, everyone seems to fall foul of come winter time. And then I take digestive enzymes as well, just to help the food break down. And, you know, for me, it's accepting that all of those things are working without a shadow of a doubt. If they weren't working, then I wouldn't be able to, you know, feel as good as I'm feeling. Basically, I'd feel rubbish. Everything is working. Everything is playing its part. It's not going to be an overnight fix. No way. So for me, it's been a year. If it's another year being on this regimen and then starting to slowly come down, wind down the supplements and start, you know, just relying on natural foods for probiotics, for example, and maybe kind of coming down from 3 capsules of Bio-Kult to maybe 1 capsule of Bio-Kult for that extra boost. If that takes a whole year, then it takes a whole year. When I first started the diet, I thought, oh, you know, hopefully I'll be one of those people that can just whiz through intro in a month and go onto the full GAPS diet, and then 6 months later I'll be cured. It's not going to be that simple. I was living in cloud cookie land. You know, there's a fabulous quote. I don't know who it was originally from. It's amazing. There is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs. And when it comes to the GAPS diet, for me, it sums it up beautifully. If you're looking for shortcuts and a quick fix, don't bother. Don't bother starting it. If you think you're going to go from being addicted to sugar to just cutting it out of your diet overnight, it's not going to happen. You might do it for a month, go through hideous detox, have the worst headaches ever, and then think after a month, it's so difficult, I'm just going to go right back to the start. It has to be a gradual thing, and you have to have made peace with it. You have to have accepted it in the first place. And if you haven't, you will fail miserably. It's as simple as that. So my biggest advice on the GAPS diet is, before you even attempt it, accept the reality of it. Research it. Come and speak to me on my blog, mummytries.com, mummytriesgaps.wordpress.com. Contact me, mummytries@gmail.com. I'm always here, happy to give advice. Have done for several people, and off the back of my advice, a few people have actually started GAPS or something similar, which I'm absolutely chuffed about. And it's lovely to just bring awareness of this amazing way of eating to people, because they have no idea of the benefits that can be had from it. You know, it might not completely cure your autoimmune dysfunction, because obviously if your health is in a seriously bad way, then, you know, perhaps there are other things that need to happen as well. But I would say, if you have issues with gut health or autoimmune disease, GAPS is a fantastic place to start. And if you don't see improvements after 6 months on the GAPS diet, I would be absolutely shocked if you're actually following it properly and you weren't cheating every week. So yeah, that's my biggest piece of advice, is just accept. accept that it's going to take a while, and don't cheat. Don't try and cheat it because you'll regret it. Trust me. As I said, first time when I first started the diet, I whizzed through intro in 1 month, and it did nothing. I then went on full gaps, and I was thinking, I'm not feeling any benefits. I'm getting itchy after I'm eating certain foods. What's going on? And I realised it kind of hit me like a brick in the head. Renee, you idiot! You've gone through it too fast. You had a couple of drinks after you finished the intro diet. That's going to put you right back to the start again. Let's face it, So I went straight back to the start and I did it properly. I even weaned myself off coffee, which I love, and had a whole 3 months of absolutely no caffeine as well as no alcohol. And I had my first drink after being on the GAPS Mark II to celebrate launching my book, celebrate publishing my book, Become the Best You. And I thought, if you can't have a glass of champagne to celebrate your book getting to number 47 in the Amazon self-help charts, then when can you have a drink? So after 5 months, I decided, actually, I'm going to have a drink now. I'm not going to overdo it. I had 2 glasses of champagne and I was absolutely fine. But, rushing through it first time round, nah, not a good idea. So my other piece of advice, as I said at the beginning of this vlog, is find your cheats. Find your cheats, and because you are going to need your bits and pieces here and there, especially if you're trying to get your kids to eat this way as well. So our big cheats are yo-yos, bear paws, Itsu seaweed, which they absolutely love, and seaweed nori is really high in calcium. And it's fantastic for you. And the Itsu stuff in the little boxes, it's all it is seaweed, a bit of olive oil, and sea salt. So really, really, really nice, clean little snack there. And the kids love it, and it's like their equivalent of crisps, basically. We have dried fruit, but we try not to have too much of it. But obviously, these are kids, and they do need that little bit of a pick-me-up. So we love dried figs, dried apricots, and I have dates, but I usually use the dates in baking. So with sugar substitutes in baking, we like raw honey. Is the to be honest, your stevia, your erythritol, your xylitol, don't bother. It's artificial. It's heavily refined, heavily processed. Go for the good stuff. Your natural raw honey, your organic maple syrup, and organic dates. Those are my biggest recommendations for baking. I am going to do a post purely and simply about my favourite ingredients on the GAPS diet, because I don't want this vlog to go over 20 minutes and people to just switch off. I'm just trying to think, any more cheats. The other cheats that the kids love, the Kiddylicious snacks, the Fruit Wiggles, the Smoothie Sweets, and again, it's completely natural, 2 and 3 ingredients, pure fruit, no sulfites, no chemicals, no nasties. And then that's their equivalent. If the kid's having a birthday party at school, I take our equivalent of the sweets in for the teacher, so the teacher's got a little stash for my eldest. And when the kid's giving out the Haribo at the end of class, my girl gets one of her little treats, and then she doesn't feel left out, and then it's not a big deal anymore. So that's really good. Kind of ditto most birthday parties, unfortunately. Some parents are amazing, and we went to a birthday party recently, and the mum literally brought tears to my eyes. She'd made a big platter up of all the foods that my daughter could eat because she works at the school, and she's seen the disappointment, and she's seen what she's been through with all of her allergies and whatnot. So she had a big platter of food that she could eat, and it was labelled with her name, and my daughter was just in seventh heaven, But for the most part, people aren't aware. They don't need to be aware. It's not their fault. They've got enough to deal with, dealing with the stress of a birthday party, quite frankly, so we take a little packed lunch with us. So she's got her little treats. So anyway, so those are my biggest recommendations on the GAPS diet after an entire year. Be prepared, make peace with it, accept it, know that it's not going to be an overnight fix, find your cheats, and oh my goodness me, I've forgotten what the last one was. Find your cheats, and completely it's gone, sorry. But if you're still listening, then thank you very, very, very much. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope it, it helps somebody out there. And as I said, if you need anything else, do get in touch. My name's Renee, and I blog at mummytries.com and mummytriesgaps.wordpress.com, which is obviously all about the GAPS diet. Or you can email me at mummytries@gmail.com. Thank you, and have a nice day.